Hello everyone, welcome to True Mother's Tears. My name is Zainab Mahmoud. I'm a mother, a wife, a grief loss and a parenting coach. If you've been with me from the onset, I say thank you so very much for hanging in there. I couldn't have gone this far without your support, and I hope you keep supporting me as I grow. And if you're new to this channel, please, I say a big welcome, and please kindly hit the subscribe button and the bell on notification to be notified whenever there is a new video, which is always on every Friday. Thank you as you do so. Don't also forget to hit the like button, and if there's any comment you want to make, please go down below and do that. Thank you. Today we'll be talking about the trending story on social media, which is that of the 10-year-old girl who was caught on camera engaging in sexual activities with another boy of not far away age of 13 years. For those of you who are not aware of the story, a little 10-year-old girl from Christian school in Lekki, Lagos, went representing her school in faraway Dubai for sports competition, and then from there she was engaged in sexual activities with another boy of 13 years, and this act was caught on camera and now is trending on social media. The outrage from people has got everyone wanting to know or have a say on this topic, and because I have a girl of 10-year-old, I feel so kind of connected with this, and I say to myself, it could have been me. But there are so many things we need to analyze here. First is, what do we expect of a 10-year-old child? At the age of 10, we expect a child to have control of many emotions. However, they may find it very difficult to keep this emotion in check. A 10-year-old child wants to experiment some things because he's already feeling that he knows so much. And with the technological age that we're in today, where many children are exposed to so many things, they tend to want to experiment. But first, I want us to start from the basic, which is parenting. Parenting is one enormous task that every parent has to be highly intentional about. It's not like that of those days where so many people help to be involved in parenting of a child. Today we have everybody wanting to do it all alone, and even in situations where you don't want to do it all alone, people don't want to join you in bringing up your child, and we have had to pay lots of big prices for this. In this situation, let's look at the parenting of this child, because I hear so many people say, no, let's not judge, let's not talk about it, At what point do we correct ourselves? There definitely has to be a time where we'll judge ourselves, and this time is not far away from that time. Let's look at parenting of a child. When bringing up a child, I wouldn't say, in so many cases, many parents can't say they have excelled in it until maybe when their kids are fully grown. Many of us are still work in progress. But while so far with what we have done, we've been able to pick up some tips that we feel has helped us to get this far. If there's one thing I've noticed about parenting, is that you have to always be intentional about what you do. And from a little age till the child grows up. In my last video, I talked about treating a child at the exact age that child is. If a child is 5 years, treat that child like a 5-year-old. And if a child is 10 years, treat the child like a 10-year-old. It's even an act of violation of a child's right to treat a child not the exact age that child is. If you take a 7-year-old child and you expose that child to adult content, you are violating that child's right. It is not only when we abuse, when we hit, when we punish, when we do when we do similar things that will say the child's right has been violated. No. When you expose a child to what he or she is not supposed to at a certain age, you have violated that child's right by exposing that child to what he's not supposed to and at the same time you have taken away. We need to be highly intentional about parenting. Do you know one thing this brings out? When you get it right from day one, automatically your child acts very similar to how you expect he or she to act. I remember a case of my little girl. When she was 6 years old, I was going out and I met the son of my neighbor. He was in SS2 at that time. The boy greeted me and I responded. And I said to my little girl, won't you say hello to him? She didn't respond. I was surprised. I repeated myself. She just looked at me and she said nothing. And then we walked away. When we were away from where the boy was, I asked her, why didn't you say hello when I asked you to? She said, Mommy, I don't want to greet him. And I said, why? She said, anytime I say hello to him, he hugs me. You might say, what is in a hug? Nothing actually. But this little girl knew that a hug from this person was something she didn't like. And by herself, she was already taking steps to control it. So to a very large extent, when we do well in parenting, automatically our kids know their boundaries. They know when to act and they know when not to act, to an extent. And they also know what mommy wants or what daddy wants, and they try to do that. I am not saying they are in total control of their emotions because they are still little. But to an extent, they do what we expect of them. Parenting is like a foundation for a building. Once we get it wrong from the foundation, there is no way the building will stand straight. It's either going to be crooked or it's not going to even go far. Or even when we try to force it, we pray that it doesn't collapse with us in the building. Parenting is something we always have to be in control of. I know very well we are human beings, will be found wanting in so many areas, but to a very large extent, the human ability in us has to do well and do it so well that we get it right with parenting. And especially in this day and age, where if you don't teach your child something, lo and behold, the society will teach your child. So it's always better you equip your child with the skill to cope with what the society will bring up. And when you're not there, your child, to a very large extent, knows how to act, what to accept, what to take, and what to reject. A parent that is not very attentive, that will not notice some certain tendencies in his or her child. So many parents have been able to pick up those tendencies, emphasize being highly intentional in parenting. It can never be overemphasized, not even with what we have going on out there nowadays. The second thing I want to talk about is too much freedom. Many a times you see so many parents giving their children so much freedom. They give them access to so many things. In the name of wanting the child to be compliant with the trend, we tend to open them to what they are not supposed to. We give them gadgets. We don't 100% monitor those gadgets. We give them access to internet. We don't 100% monitor those internet. At the end of the day, they tend to go to where we have not guided them enough to go to. And you know, a child can be in the comfort of your home, but that child is far away from the house. You will think it's by locking up the child at home. You will think it's by not allowing the child to mingle with other kids in the area. You will think it's by only, subjecting the child to some certain things. As long as that child has access to internet, as long as that child has access to a smartphone unregulated, my dear, you never can tell the extent, the distance your child will take. The child might be in the comfort of your home, but the child might be far away, very far from the African continent. So we need to watch the freedom. You see so many parents refusing to give their child phones, even in secondary schools. And if when they choose to, they only give them a phone that does not have access to internet. And sometimes we look down, some of those parents are looked down upon that. Why do you have to give your child? Why is your child using that kind of phone? Even in school, it's not about moving with the trend. It's not about giving your child what other kids have access to. Sometimes you need to know exactly what your child desires. Like I said, there are some things we must put into consideration. As an adult, you know when we're getting it wrong, especially when people correct us. So many of us, let's face it, so many of us have gotten so many things wrong in parenting. And at the same time, we are from different backgrounds and we've been exposed to different things. What I see as wrong, you might see that there's nothing wrong in it. And then you can go ahead to teach your child or allow your child to do it. What you see as totally wrong, I might feel there's nothing wrong in it. But there is something, there is a benchmark for measuring morals. There is always that benchmark that where everybody knows going above here is wrong. It's just when some people are not well equipped enough for parenting that they get those things wrong. And in those situations, they alone do not suffer for it. The whole society suffers for it. Let's relate it to the case of this little girl. The school tried to cover it up. To them, they felt they did not relate it to the parent of the girl in question. Neither did they relate it to other children that were surrounding them when this activity was going on. And then the question now is, why do you think they did that? There's a big problem here. A little girl was engaged in the sexual activities in the presence of other kids. And then the other kids were watching as it was going on. They were even talking. Even as full-blown adults, we don't do that. Now, these kids, for them to be engaged in this kind of thing and not knowing the gravity of, because I feel if they had known the gravity of what they were doing, they won't be that open with it. For them to be that open with it shows they didn't even have the total sense, total idea of what they were doing. And then so it is not just this girl that is the problem at hand now. It is the girl and the kids that were there when this was going on. And then by the time you dive to look at these kids, you will discover other kids that you didn't know about. So sometimes when caregivers try to cover up some things, it does not cover up that thing alone. It also covers up future things that we could have corrected. So we really need to watch it here. The role of a caregiver in our child's life. By the caregiver, I mean this could be the parent, the guardian, the teacher, the nanny, the house help, anybody that is overseeing to the well-being of the child. This set of people have to 100% be well equipped or be fully informed about what they are engaging in. Take example the case of this little girl. She was in the care of the teachers that accompanied them to Dubai. These teachers were saddled with the responsibility of taking care of the 76 students that went from their school. The question now is, at what point did they have so much time to engage in these activities to the extent that no teacher was aware? 2 students were engaged in the sexual activities and other students surrounding them were watching for a while that it happened, even if it was for 1 minute. At least, where were those teachers? Does it mean nobody was going around watching them? Does it mean 76 students were left all by themselves? Or does it mean a very high number of students out of those 76 were left all by themselves to the extent that they could engage in such acts? So we see, there is no, even if you are not biologically a parent, there is going to be a time in your life where you will have to oversee to the well-being of a child. At one point in our life, And almost every one of us had to take care of someone younger than us. How well we did it will also tell on how good a parent will become. So you can't say that it is not my child and then you don't do well. As you're taking care of a child, is also equipping you to take care of your own child when you finally get to have one. So in this scenario, so like I said, so many things that we have to consider. They are unexhaustive. There are so many that I can't exhaust them here. That's why we'll briefly touch on the ones that we can touch on. And I hope and pray that we will not hear of things like this, because it shows how the level of decadence we have in our society. So imagine that this is not happening in Nigeria alone. It's happening in different parts of the world. It's because it's not very common in Nigeria. That is why we had the level of outrage we had in this case. And I pray that there's not going to be a time where it will be normalized. I want to end this video in reminding us, or in trying to push us to try to do better as parents. I'm starting with myself. Please, we need to do more as parents. We need to do more as parents, not just to our kids, but to other kids. To the child of your friend, to the child of your colleague, to your neighbor's child, to a child that you see doing something wrong on the road. Never hesitate to correct that child. Never. Because all these kids form who the society becomes tomorrow. And when I don't do well as a mother, when you don't do well as a mother, when you don't do well as a father, we are bound to have a corrupt society. So please, it is not the job of a mother alone. It is not the job of a father alone. It is the job of all adults, responsible adults. So that means we have to try to be responsible adults before we are parents. Please, let's put all hands on deck to bring up good children that will be proud of tomorrow. If we don't do well, we will suffer it tomorrow. Let's try our best possible. And then let's correct ourselves. Let's forget this issue of not wanting to judge. Let's judge ourselves and tell ourselves where we're doing it wrong. And then we'll move on. Because by the time we tell ourselves where we're doing it wrong, the onus is now on you to go and correct what has been highlighted to you. And then I'm sure we'll do better with that. So let's do well. Let's try to do better as parents. And then let's also pray to God to fill in the gap where we are found wanting. And then crown our effort in helping us to produce good children. Because it is only when we produce good children we will have a sane society. So please, thank you for listening to me. And don't forget to hit the like button and the bell notification if you are new. If you have any comments, please, I'm open to it. Just go down below and make your comment. And please, till we meet again next Friday, do have a lovely weekend. Bye bye.